Welcome back, Goblin Chefs. It's APGAINS. I know we are fast approaching the Elrond meta, and we will be live when this event goes up, so if you guys want to watch testing to see minimum gear unlock, we will be doing that for you guys. But the purpose of today's video is the meta to come, because this entire channel is obviously geared around trying to figure out the best ways to help free-to-play players get ahead of the whales by the main account, which tests some low-level spending to figure out the most optimal way for free-to-play players to eventually, slower of course because you're not spending money, get to places, and then the free-to-play accounts that we use as well as our roster review group on the Patreon to help figure out optimal paths for you guys to get places. Now, obviously, the purpose of the video is to talk about the team that's been absolutely drummed into your head for a long time, and that is the HOM-E. Now, we know the data mines, and we have some data mine images. I actually just went through some of the data mines and the packages that they have as far as images are concerned myself, just for fun to see what I could find. The new HOM stuff is in there and is pretty interesting. We know not maybe the final kits, but we know roughly about what they're going to do. Similar with the elves, it's kind of the thing where it's close enough to what's already readily available that you can make some assumptions. And one, this team is obviously busted. I think it has potential to rival the elves, even without the rest of the characters being, a little up in the air as far as how good they are. Now, the next two characters to come, if you take their kits, for example, are going to be pretty good, but together, this team, I think, is going to perfectly slaughter the elves. So really quickly, let's do some background. Why are the elves good? Well, the elves are good not because of great damage, but they have great sustain, right? They have great survivability, recovery, prevention of death, good AoEs. Damage is not fantastic. Obviously, we've done some testing free to play on some low-level elves versus the rest of the team. We actually might have a video of that up in the next day or so. I'm just trying to, edit the footage together, and I'm lazy and busy, and editing is just the worst thing in the world for me. But as far as damage is concerned, the elves, they don't hold up fantastic. If you pull up like LordofTheRings.gg, they're not the worst thing in the world as far as stats are concerned, but they're definitely more in the realm of sustain, being why they're good characters. Like, let me pull up damage real quick here. Yeah, so it looks like the first elf to kind of pop on here is Lord Elrond. He is top 20 as far as damage is concerned. But characters like, Yef2 and stuff like that are pretty up there. Robol's really high up there as far as damage are concerned. So it's not to say that the elves are a bad team. I think their synergy is going to be fantastic, but I think where they're going to struggle is against characters who can get debuffs out. And I'm not saying the HOM are fantastic at getting debuffs out, but they absolutely do get debuffs out at a good degree. But I think they're more so going to be susceptible to high damage and, offensive synergy. Wubete Bambalam, whoa, Wubete Bambalam. Solid tank. He's actually got surprising damage for his build. Great health. Mass slow AoE, which is nice. And his passive healing that's going to get shared with the rest of the HOM team is going to give a little bit of sustain on the level of, roughly on the level of the Isengard team. So you're going to get kind of the best of that Isengard team for sustainability and raids and PvE and PvP, stuff like that. But it's going to kind of apply to the rest of the team. Yef2 hits like a truck. He's going to be sharing his crit chance passive, which is going to be nice. It's not going to be fantastic. The lower levels you're going to get, what is that, 8, 16, like 20-something%. He does great damage. I like how his abilities are just pure damage. Like, this one does good damage, this one does better damage, and this one does even better damage. So he's kind of like your one-stop, absolutely annihilate someone, get them off the map. Robel, I think, until Elrond enters the game, might be the best character in the entire game. I might do a separate video on Robel and why she's the best character in the entire game. But her good damage, combined with her passive that gives Black Serpent poison, which is obviously going to be a very key part when the other two, Sage and whatever the other HOM character's name is, we don't know what their like bullshit made up, normal person name is going to be, so I just kind of going off what they are as far as in the data mines are. But Black Serpent's poison is definitely going to help facilitate a lot of that team stuff. And then, good damage, a little bit of a provoke, and then TM manipulation as far as reduction, either highly targeted or mass AoEs are going to really turn the tide as far as fighting Elrond is concerned. I know Elrond also has some turn meter manipulation as well. I actually let's pull up some stats here real quick. As far as this is actually coming out live, so Roble is slightly faster than Lord Elrond. So Roble's turn meter manipulation will come out first, meaning that you're going to be able to take control of that battle before they are able to, which is nice. As far as, I should probably do a video comparing the direct stats in like spreadsheet form between the two characters, the two factions. I'm not much of a spreadsheet guy. I use enough spreadsheets at work to kind of, when I come home and I want to relax and do some YouTube and stuff like that, I don't exactly want to keep using spreadsheets, if you know what I mean. I'm sure you guys can appreciate that in your own lives as well. You want to keep your work separated from your fun play activities on the side. But I think the direct stats are I'm fairly certain to say that the direct stat comparison favors the Haradrim. I also think the damage and control favors them a little bit. Well, obviously they lack sustain like the Elrond team does. So are they going to be as good in, say, challenges? I think they're going to be. I think when the raids come, there's going to be certain phases of the raids where you're going to want sustain, and there's going to be certain phases of the raids where you're going to want damage output. And I think these two teams, being likely the first two teams that are going to include full 5-man synergistic with two marquee characters, if data mines are correct, and data mines are not always correct, and I can appreciate that. I do still believe they're going to come before. I still do believe they're going to come before. My God, why? Fellowship characters. I believe fellowship characters are so big that they're going to wait for more content to be in the game, because they're going to want to draw in. They don't really advertise this game right now, so they're going to want to advertise this game with the new content, and they're going to use those fellowship characters to kind of pull people in. And I think they're going to wait till at least the raid's been out for a little while, and maybe they're working on another game mode, because, when they do decide to capitalize on the influx of people who are going to come to the game looking for their favorite fellowship characters, spending a bunch of money, they're probably going to want to capture it's an EA company, so they're going to want to capture, obviously, their money, but also their in-game time as well. So I believe that from a business perspective, it probably makes the most sense for those fellowship characters to come out later. CG, there's a AP's wager where, the original is, never attribute to malice what you can attribute to sucking ass is a little offhand way to say that. I would say that there's still a 30% possibility that CG kind of fumbles that, and they've done that in the past. But I do strongly believe that they're relatively sensible, and the fellowship will come later after a little bit more content's in the game to kind of give more staying power to the players that they're going to draw in. They've shown to do that in the past, and I believe it's been effective for them as far as retention is concerned, and I continue to expect that to be happening in their not second title, but their second title that isn't a complete flop. RIP previous CG games that will not be spoken about. So I definitely think Fellowship's coming a little bit later, which means Haradrim is going to be coming as the next two marquee characters, likely. I mean, do they throw in a random off-the-cuff, marquee character that fills up some faction that has 4 characters? Like, is there like a random... I don't know. Is there like a random what's the orc or dark side faction that like has, randomly 4 people? I think maybe it's Misty Mountain or something like that. Where, there's 3 of them. Like, is that a possibility? Potentially, but all things kind of point in the direction of Haradrim right now, and their stats look good, their synergies look good, their damage looks good. Not as much sustain as the elves, but I believe that, after a little bit of elves, I think the Haradrim are going to be what's going to move the needle forward as far as the meta is concerned, and give us that extra powerful high damage raid team that's going to really help out once that comes to the game. So subscribe. It helps me out a lot. As always, I love you, and I'll see you later.